And then I wanted to explain to you missing data codes, a new feature. This is another new feature that REDCap just rolled out to allow you to flag a field as something specific about missing data in that particular field. So I'm here in this project. I'm going to look at my record status dashboard for a minute and open up a record. Now, ethnicity here has no value, okay, and there's no data in it. It would be nice if there were a way for, after the data has been collected, that you would be able to flag a field accurately to say nothing was provided, or there's a variety of different reasons that you might have missing data. So the first thing I want to point out here is if you look in front of each field, you will see the data history and comment bubbles. Remember, they're not highly visible, but they are here. So I am going to go to my project setup. I'm going to get at it through the link on the left. Go to the project setup, and I'm going to come down to my additional customizations. Okay. This is where in the past we have set up custom record labels, but I'm going to come down and there's this new feature called missing data codes. So you can actually either select from like a pre-populated available list of codes. Like if you had something that was unknown and you wanted to add it, you could just click on it, and now this missing data code would be available. I'll show you how that manifests in a minute. Or you can create your own. In some cases, people like to use the 999, no data provided, something like that. The only requirement is, and I'm going to read a little bit for you out of the information that's provided for you on the codes. You have to follow the syntax that you use when you create any option in your option buttons or your checkboxes, drop downs, whatever. And the syntax is a number or alpha character of some kind, a comma, and then the label that you want to apply to it. So in this case, I'm going to grab the no data provided. In fact, I'll grab another one, the not applicable, and add that too, and save it. All right, so now I've got two options for missing data. If I come to my record status dashboard and open up record here, notice now there are three bubbles. Where there were two, there are three, and the new one is this M. So if I come down to my missing, and I want to mark that field as actually blank for a specific reason, and I click on the M, I now have my options that I can choose from. So let's just say no data was provided here, and I'll go ahead and save that. I'm going to go to the consent form, and let's say that in this particular case, the consent was not applicable because they didn't meet inclusion criteria. So I can mark this as not applicable. Even though it's not part of the visible selected options, I can add that, and it will save to the field. So I'm going to save and exit that field. And I've created a report just to let you take a look here. Again, we put this into the ethnicity field and the consent field. So I'm going to go ahead into my test report. Originally I was playing around with this and I put it in for race, but I'm going to change this now to consent received so that we can take a look at this. And I'll save the report. I didn't add anything else. So now if I look, I can see here that there is no data provided, and it will export 999 or in the consent received, it's NA. If I go back and look at to edit my report, the reason those are showing up because there's also a new option in your report options, and that is to display any missing data codes so that you can use them in your export. So if I turn this off, save it, and it's not turned on by default, okay, just so you know, your missing data values are gone. So put this back in.
I have a question.
Save it. And they're back. All right. Now, I want to come back and maybe explain a couple little things here. Come back to my project setup. Take a look at this a little closer. I'm going to go to the more detailed instructions and point out a couple things here.
Terry, you have a question?
I'm sorry, Terry. Can you hear me?
I hear you.
I have a question since you're right here.
Yeah.
One of the things that I was asked by a statistician, they pull the raw data and they're using the API. Our question is, will our missing values be uploaded in the raw data?
I have no idea.
Okay.
Sorry.
Thank you. No.
You're gonna, I would like you to tell me.
Okay.
I mean, this is brand new, and you're the first one that I know that's using it because you were the only one that was there the end of last Zoom session, or last Red Zone. Yeah, so you're the only one that I've actually mentioned this to, you know, outside of just now.
Okay.
So
we'll test
I don't know if anybody else is using it or not, but that's a really good question.
Because I have it. It looks. I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
It looks really good in the database when we use the report and we ask to show it. But our question is now when she pulls it directly using the API export, that's where we're at now. So we'll find out. We'll test it and we'll find out and let you know.
Okay, so my suspicion is, yes, it's going to show.
Okay.
The reason is, let me back out of this real quick here a minute. Notice if I wanted, I'm going to go back into this report. I'm going to come in here. I'm going to export the data here. There are I was under the impression that there would be something here.
No.
I don't see
only in the
reports. Okay. All right. So if it's not the report thing is a mask. Okay. The API is talking directly to the database, and the value is there. So my suspicion is it will show up just fine for an API data pool, and it will pull those fields. What I'm concerned about, I do want to go back to the little verbiage here about this when you get into statistical analysis. So here's what I'm sort of referencing here, this part where, you know, when you're exporting the data codes into a statistical software package, that field may be set up, for example, as being numeric or integer or something like that. And if you attempt to dump in a code that's alpha characters, it's potentially going to be a problem. So, you know, they suggest you might want to try exporting your data without the missing data codes if that's the case. I don't know, but you may want to play with that in your particular situation to make sure that the export is handled correctly. But in the case of the API, again, it's possible that if it's predefined as an integer and you stick in an alpha character, that it creates a problem. That is possible, but that's an issue for the stats program, like if they're using R and doing an API import and they've defined that field. You going to say something?
Oh, no, I'm just, I thank you, but we made sure they're all numeric. I didn't use any. Yeah.
I really don't think you're going to have a problem, but if you do, I'd like you to let me know, because that would just be a piece of information. I did happen to kind of poke around on missing data codes on Vanderbilt's site, and there's not a whole lot there at the moment, but I will speak to your issue about the surveys in just a second.
Okay.
One last thing to point out. When you enable this feature for the missing data codes, there may be a field or number of fields that you do not want to have the option to use that missing data code. You can apply the action tag @NoMissing for that individual field, and it will hide the M icon that we were using there so that nobody can accidentally flag something as missing by mistake. And then finally, just as an observation, if you do this by mistake, I'm going to go ahead and come back to my record status dashboard and open this up. So I've got this no data provided, and let's say all of a sudden somebody did provide that data for you and you wanted to get rid of it. You can clear, this is where am I here? So this should be, let me come back in here again. So I can clear the value, and then, I can use the drop down and pick any of these up, or, if I wanted to leave it blank, I could, but I can change that if I find that data after the fact. But if you just need to clear the value, you may have to do that first before you change the field. But I just wanted to make sure that you saw that once you've done this, that you can clear the value by clicking on the M there. Okay. Notice well, I think that's enough that I need to say about that. All right, so that's just how to use it. Now, Tanya came up with a situation that she asked me about, and Tanya, please correct me if I'm wrong with this, but she set this up as a survey and put it out there, and the missing value was not visible. Is that correct, Tanya? Can you unmute yourself a minute? Go ahead.
Is what they're asked. So the
Yeah.
question was presented was that they send the survey out, people take the survey, and they skip some of the data. So then they submit it. And when they submit it, when it comes into the server acknowledges that this is missing data and will our missing data automatically fill it in. What I'm seeing, or what I have to actually go into each one and assign it using the M code.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay.
You do have, it is a manual process that you have to apply the M. It doesn't just automatically flag everything as, you know,
As it comes in.
specific. Yeah.
But
Yeah. So that's good that we did this, because I didn't understand your question fully. But I'm going to show something else anyway.
You did bring something up earlier about the action tag. I wonder if
Mm-hmm.
the action tag, if we built that in and they didn't respond with the survey, I have to test that.
Yeah, but it's not going to.
It's not going to do it either.
It's not going to do anything.
Okay,
no.
It's all going to have to be corrected manually.
If you put a default in there of like a number, like there was a no not provided, like here. So if you made your fields all with a default of not provided, it has to be changed, then by default they'd be filled in. But otherwise, you'd have to select the option just like you would here on the checkboxes. I mean, if you don't check something, there's not going to be anything there. Same with these fields. If you haven't selected one of these options, it's not going to pre-populate unless you use the @default action tag. You know what I'm saying?
Yes, sir, I do. Thank you. I'll make
sure.
The
other thing, yeah, sure. The other thing I just wanted to point out was, in case anybody was interested, if you send this out as a survey, and where that might happen is if you had a tablet in the field and you felt more comfortable with this visual, and a lot of people do, they would rather use the survey to fill in things or hand it to somebody to fill out, like a participant. If it's in a survey form, you aren't going to see any bubbles. You never see bubbles anyway. You never see history logs or any of that, because that's more of an administrative feature for you all. It's not really meant for somebody that's filling out a survey. So those options will not exist for missing if you are using it on a survey. And again, like we were just talking about with Tanya, that if you want to modify a field, you're going to have to do it manually. And again, you can do that on any field. We can quickly pop in here and say, well, I definitely don't want that for date of birth. It's a required field. So I'm going to use the @no missing, save it, and then hop back out again. Look at my record status dashboard. It's one of the things I haven't tested. There we go. It's gone. All right. So that's the new missing code feature. If there's any questions, now's the time. If you don't have any questions, then we'll probably stop early because I'm out of things for today. I didn't want to overwhelm you. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
You're welcome. You know, it was. I love that people take these things when we show them, and you run with them a little bit. And I know that the opportunity doesn't occur right away. And I've always said before, we try to expose a lot of things here in these Thursday sessions that, you know, may not be applicable now for you, but may downstream. And the fact that you saw it, it will, you know, tweak something for you when the time comes. And the fact that we are doing these in these Thursday sessions now, the reason I was really gung-ho about providing this presentation today was because we do record all of these, and Manuel is cutting and pasting and modifying these and then getting a nice professional sort of version up on our website so that you can come back and review what you saw in this little session. So if you need more information, you know that it's there on the website in our videos. Every one that we do on Thursday is recorded and put up there. So we're building our own library of information about how-tos, so don't hesitate to check it out. So I think that's it for today. Unless anyone else has a question, I'll go ahead and end this. And thank you all for joining. It's here for, we do this for you, and so hopefully you get some benefit out of it. So thanks, and have a nice afternoon and a great weekend.